This changes everything for Dallas, and I need you to hear me out on this one because what Stephen Jones just pulled is unlike anything we have seen from this front office in years. And before we dive into the madness, make sure you subscribe because this channel brings you Cowboys news the moment it breaks. And trust me, you do not want to be the last one to find out what is happening with this team. So here is the deal. Stephen Jones just made a roster decision that has the entire league buzzing. And when I say buzzing, I mean every analyst, every insider, and every fan account is losing their minds over this right now. The Cowboys cut a star player, not a depth guy, not someone fighting for a roster spot. A legitimate difference maker that fans have cheered for at AT&T Stadium for years. And the crazy part is nobody had this on their radar heading into today. Like you could have asked 100 NFL reporters yesterday if this move was coming, and every single one of them would have told you absolutely not. There is no way Dallas does this. But here we are. Stephen Jones decided that the old way of doing business was not cutting it anymore, and he dropped the hammer. Now, let me give you the full picture because understanding why this happened is just as important as understanding what happened. For weeks, there have been whispers coming out of Frisco about a philosophical shift inside that building. League insiders have been reporting that Stephen has been pushing hard for a more ruthless approach to roster construction. And when I say ruthless, I mean the kind of cold, calculated decision-making that champions are built on. Jerry Jones has always had a soft spot for his players, especially the ones who become fan favorites. And honestly, you cannot blame the man because when you own the most valuable franchise in professional sports, you have to think about more than just X's and O's. You have to think about the brand. You have to think about butts and seats. You have to think about jersey sales. But here's what nobody is talking about. Stephen Jones apparently walked into that building and said, enough is enough. We are not running a popularity contest. We are trying to win a championship. And that mentality led directly to today's bombshell. The player who got released was eating up a massive chunk of the salary cap. And look, I get it when you have a guy who can change games, you pay him. But what happens when the money stops matching the production? What happens when you are handcuffed financially because of one contract while holes are forming all over your roster? Stephen Jones looked at the situation and made the tough call that his father has historically been unwilling to make. And whether you love it or hate it, you have to respect the guts it took to pull the trigger on this one. Now, the reaction around the league has been absolutely wild, and I mean that in the most literal sense possible. My timeline has been nothing but Cowboys discourse since this news dropped, and everybody has an opinion. You have one group saying Stephen finally did what needed to be done, and that this is the first real sign that Dallas is serious about competing for a Lombardi trophy. Then you have another group absolutely dragging the organization, saying this proves the Cowboys have no idea what they are doing and that Stephen Jones is in over his head. And here's my honest take, because I know you want to know where I stand. Both sides have legitimate points. From a pure dollars and cents perspective, this move makes complete sense. The Cowboys have been operating with almost no cap flexibility for years, and that has prevented them from addressing critical needs through free agency. By cutting this player, they just freed up millions of dollars that they can now use to fill gaps on this roster, and in a league where the salary cap is king, that kind of flexibility is worth its weight in gold. But here is the other side of the coin, and this is what makes the whole situation so complicated. This player was not just a name on a spreadsheet. He was a starter. He was a leader in that locker room. He was the kind of guy that teammates rallied around. And when he was healthy and playing at his peak, he could absolutely take over games. So when you remove that kind of presence from your team, you are not just saving money. You are creating a void that has to be filled somehow. And that is the gamble Stephen Jones is making right now. He is betting that the cap space is more valuable than the player, and only time will tell if he is right. But here's where things get really interesting, and I genuinely need you to think about this for a second. What does this move say to every other player in that locker room? Because I promise you, every single guy on that roster saw the news today and felt something. Some of them probably felt nervous because if a star player can get cut, then nobody is safe. Others probably felt motivated because now they know the front office is serious about accountability and performance. And the veterans on that team are processing what this means for the culture they have been building. This is the kind of move that can either galvanize a team or fracture it completely, and how Mike McCarthy handles the fallout is going to be absolutely crucial. The coaching staff needs to channel all of these emotions in the right direction, because if players start feeling like the organization does not value loyalty, then you have got a serious problem on your hands. Now, I want to address something that has been bubbling under the surface for years, and this move brings it right to the forefront: the power dynamic between Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. Look, it is no secret that these two do not always agree on football decisions. Jerry is old school. He loves his stars. He loves making splashy moves that get attention. Stephen is more analytical. He thinks in terms of value and efficiency and long-term roster construction. And what we are seeing right now looks like Stephen gaining more control over the day-to-day operations of this franchise. And honestly, that should excite Cowboys fans because Steven understands the modern NFL in ways that Jerry sometimes struggles with. The league has changed dramatically over the past decade, and the teams that are winning championships are the ones who are ruthless about roster management. Look at what the Rams did to win their Super Bowl. Look at the Eagles when they got their ring. These teams made hard decisions and they prioritized winning over sentiment, and that is exactly the direction Stephen Jones is trying to take Dallas. Now, let me tell you what I think happens next because the ripple effects from this move are going to be significant. First of all, multiple teams are already sniffing around this player. One report suggests that at least 5 franchises have expressed interest in bringing him in, and you know what that means, right? There is a very real possibility that this guy ends up wearing green or blue twice a year against the Cowboys. Imagine him landing with the Eagles or the Giants. Imagine the storylines when he comes back to Arlington for the first time in an opposing jersey. That is the kind of drama that the NFL absolutely loves, and I would be lying if I said I was not a little bit excited about the potential chaos. Is that petty of me? Maybe, but come on, you want to see how that plays out too. Speaking of the rest of the division, the Eagles, Commanders, and Giants are all watching this situation very closely. Every move Dallas makes shifts the competitive balance of the NFC East, and you better believe those front offices are already scheming on how to take advantage of the Cowboys roster shakeup. Do not be surprised if we see some counter moves in the coming weeks as teams try to capitalize on the uncertainty in Dallas. Now, here is what I need Cowboys Nation to understand, and I am speaking directly to you right now. This is not the end of the world. I know it stings. I know you had emotional investment in this player. I know you bought his jersey and cheered for him every Sunday and genuinely believed he would be wearing the star for years to come. But sometimes change is necessary for growth. The Cowboys have been stuck in the same cycle for nearly 3 decades. They get hyped up every offseason. They look good on paper. They win some regular season games that get everyone excited. And then they flame out in the playoffs and everyone spends the next 8 months pointing fingers and asking what went wrong. That cycle has to end somewhere, and maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of a new era in Dallas. Stephen Jones is sending a message that mediocrity is no longer acceptable and that every single person in that organization needs to earn their spot. And that is the kind of mentality that wins championships. Now, I also want to touch on what this means for the upcoming season because we are at a critical point in the offseason where every decision matters. The Cowboys now have cap space to work with, and how they use it is going to tell us a lot about their priorities. Are they going to target a free agent at the position they just created a hole at? Are they going to address a different area of need and trust their depth to step up? Are they stockpiling resources for a potential blockbuster trade down the line? These are the questions that Stephen Jones is going to have to answer, and his decisions over the next few weeks will shape the trajectory of this franchise for years to come. And I want to be clear about something because I think it is important to separate confirmed information from speculation. What we know for certain is that this player has been released and that the Cowboys are moving forward without him. Everything else about their plans is still unclear, and anyone who tells you they know exactly what Dallas is going to do next is probably guessing. There are rumors floating around about potential free agent targets and possible trades, but until something official happens, we need to treat all of that as speculation. I am not going to sit here and pretend I have sources inside the building because I do not. What I do have is a deep understanding of this team and this league, and based on everything I have seen, I believe the Cowboys are positioning themselves for something bigger. But here's the question I want you to think about. Would you have made this move if you were in Stephen Jones' position? Seriously, think about it. You have a player who is talented but expensive. You have a roster with multiple holes that need to be filled. You have a fan base that is desperate for a championship but also emotionally attached to certain players. What do you do? Do you keep paying the guy and hope it works out, or do you rip off the Band-Aid and deal with the short-term pain in pursuit of long-term success? That is the decision Stephen Jones faced, and he chose the harder path. And I respect that even if not everyone agrees with it. Now, as we start to wrap this up, I want to give you my final thoughts because I know you want to know where I ultimately land on this whole situation. Here's my take. This was a risky move. This was a controversial move. This is going to be debated by Cowboys fans for months and possibly years, depending on how it plays out. But I think it was the right move. Dallas has been too comfortable for too long. They have been making the same mistakes over and over, expecting different results, and that is the definition of insanity. Stephen Jones just showed the entire league that he is not afraid to be aggressive, and he is not afraid to make decisions that might cost him popularity in the short term if he believes they will lead to wins in the long term. And that is exactly the mentality you need if you are serious about ending a championship drought that is approaching 30 years. So, to all my Cowboys fans out there, I know emotions are running high right now. I know some of you are angry. I know some of you feel betrayed, but I am asking you to trust the process and give Stephen Jones a chance to show you what he is building. This could be the spark that finally ignites a Super Bowl run, or it could blow up in spectacular fashion. Either way, it is going to be must watch football, and that is why we love this team, right? They are never boring. They are always at the center of everything. And no matter what happens next, we are going to be right here breaking it all down for you. Actually, before I let you go, make sure you are subscribed because the Cowboys offseason is far from over and there are definitely more moves coming. You do not want to miss any of it. Now, drop a comment below and tell me what you think about this decision. Was Stephen Jones right to cut ties, or did he just make the biggest mistake of his career? I want to hear your takes because the best part of this community is the conversations we have. Let me know your thoughts, and I will catch you in the next one.